Hey everybody, welcome back to CAF's Heroes of Sport. This is our special Mother's Day edition. My name is Bob Babbitt, co-founder of the Challenged Athletes Foundation, and every week we get to meet some of the world's greatest challenged athletes, and this time we get to meet Haven Shepherd and her amazing mother, Shelly. How are you both doing?
We're doing good.
I'm doing great. I just got done working out and I've already eaten, so I am ready to go.
You're ready to rock. So Shelly, give us the backstory of here's a family in Missouri deciding that you're going to go to Vietnam and pick up this young girl. Tell us how all that came about.
I really had in my heart that I wanted to adopt, and that was a little more complicated because we had 6 biological children. So it took me about 2 years to get my husband convinced. And so once we did, it was just like the week after that we heard about Haven, and her name was Fung at that time, and that we'd heard about her circumstances and the bomb explosion, and she'd lost her legs. And we actually went over to just be along for the ride as an experience with our friends who had a foundation there. And we decided when we got there that we fell in love with her. And her and I have pretty much been inseparable ever since. Like, she was my child that I fought for 2 years before I even knew she existed. So, and when we met, we just really fell madly in love with each other. And it was just a real God connection right there.
So Haven, I'm being so young, you don't remember what happened, but what have you been told in terms of how you ended up losing your legs?
My mom was very honest with me ever since the beginning. I was 5 years old. I got out the bathtub and I just asked her, I was like, so why don't I have legs? Like, why is my hair different from my sisters? I have 4 sisters. And she told me the story. And when she got done, she asked me if I had any questions. And I said 2 questions. I said, so I'm a 5-year-old. So where do you get a bomb in Vietnam? And my second thing I said was, well, that was stupid. And I ran off and went and played and acted like nothing ever happened. That's what I've heard. I don't remember this, but it sounds pretty accurate to my personality now.
So tell them the circumstances of how you lost your legs.
Oh, yeah. Ever since I was little, I always knew my story. It was never really hidden from me. I was born with my legs. I was perfectly normal, and I was born to 2 parents that had an affair and had me, and all the damage was done. And they decided to commit a family suicide, and they strapped bombs onto themselves and held me. And all the damage was done to my lower legs. I was blown like 30 feet away from the explosion, and we found a newspaper from when the accident happened, and I was in the hospital for 40 days. And the only reason I was in the hospital for that long was my grandparents didn't have any money who took care of me, and it was because of people donating money every single day for me to stay there, which is a really crazy story.
So, and for you, Shelly, you read about this in the paper and end up, who does that? You've already got 6 kids. Who gets on a plane, a bus, a moped, and goes to the middle of Vietnam? And when you got over there, did you feel was there an attraction immediately when you first saw Haven? Was like, this is my daughter?
Yeah, there was. I'm not the person that normally does that kind of thing, and I think that's one of the things that makes it even more. My husband and I had never even traveled internationally except on a cruise ship. It's like I wasn't a big adventurer. I wasn't a big take chances in life. I liked being home with my 6 kids. I was full-time mother. And so just that trip in general, of the fact that I said, hey, let's go on this adventure. My friend had a foundation, and they had heard about her through that, and she was going to be the grandparents had said they were too poor to take care of her, and they were going to put her in a handicapped shelter that was going to just house like 7 kids. So it was out of my character, which makes it even cooler part of the story. And when I kept trying to stay in the background because it was my friends and their foundation that were gonna try to get her in on a medical visa to the United States. And I was just like, oh, well, but when her sister brought her up from the jungle area, and she just walked right to me and put her in my arms. And I think at that moment, knowing my personality, I had a long history of falling in love with other people's children. Like I love children. We always had a lot of extras that were in need that stayed in our home. And so when I held her, I had just, there was a bond. But it was the next day after we that I knew for sure we were in, we got back to Saigon, and we were in a hospital waiting for her to get all of her vaccinations and all the medical reports that you need for the government. And it was just her and I sitting over in the waiting room, and she was wearing my sunglasses, and that was like, you know, the sunglasses were really big. And I flipped her down and I brought her back up and was playing with her, and she just belly laughed. And that was the first time that we had really heard her laugh. We were getting like an occasional smile, but she'd been through a lot. We'd just taken her from her grandparents and everything she knew. We put her on a plane to go to Saigon, and like here we were, we didn't speak her language. And so she had given us smiles, but she hadn't really laughed. And when she laughed, something physically inside me happened. And it was like my eyes were open. At that point, I had wanted to adopt, but I really didn't think we could handle a handicapped child. It was just, you know, if you haven't experienced, it's such a bigger deal, like in your mind, than what it has actually been raising her. Like it built up so big that like we have 12 sports schedules going on. Like all my kids are so busy, and we need a kid with feet that can keep up. Like in my mind, I was like, I can't do that. I can take on another child, but I can't take on a special needs child. And at that moment, it was like literally physically she was birthed inside of me, and my eyes were open, and it was like, this is my child. This is the child I've been waiting for. And I just knew I could do it. And you know, come to find out, it's, you know, it's just legs. I mean, legs aren't that big of a deal. Come to find out, like I thought it was just going to be such, you know, a traumatic thing, but we always just took it as it came. And people would ask me questions on how we were going to do something, and I'd be like, I'm not sure. All my other kids got feet, but we're going to figure it out. And that's how we did. Her and I just figured it out together, and we just, as we went, and it's been a great ride.
So Haven, how special is your mom?
Oh, she's so special. I mean,
I'm pinching her under the.
I was gone for 3 days in New York for a commercial, and I called her. I was like, I need to get home. Like, we need to watch Dateline, and I need to be home and drinking coffee with you in the morning. I can't handle this anymore. We don't spend much time apart. And even I always try to, like, she's so laid back with me. And I was asking her, so like, what time do you want me to get home? And she's like, oh, I don't care. I was like, no, I want you to care where I'm at. Like, why don't you care? Why don't you care when you want me home?
I trust you.
So it was prom on Saturday. And I was trying to tell her, I was like, Mom, like, what time do you want me home? She's like, I don't care. Just tell me where you're sleeping at night. I was like, I want you to care where I'm at. Like, that's that. But having a laid back mom is so much
yeah,
fun.
especially laid back where she's the 7th, and I'm a lot older and tireder than I was with number 1. I was up tracking him all night long, you know, that first, second, third one where but you get a little laxer with each one.
I'm at the bowling alley. I was like, hey, I'm at the bowling alley now. And I called her like 10 minutes before that. And I was like, and then we left the bowling. I was like, okay, I'm in the car now.
Like, I'm like, okay, I don't care. I just want to go to sleep.
So how did you guys connect with CAF?
Oh, it was all her. I like the things I like, and I like my routine, and she really pushed me to try different things. And and at the time I was in running when I was younger, so she pushed me to do a track meet at the Endeavor Games, and then we met Travis, and
Yeah.
Travis told us about you guys, and then I think that year we went.
Little bit of backstory. All of her sisters ran track, so she'd been
Right.
to a lot of track meets, and we went to. It was her turn, her first grade elementary track meet, and I'd never seen her so excited. I mean, because she was extremely fast running on her knees, so she was like, "I'm going to be so fast. I'm going to beat everybody." And when she ran her first race, she fell. And it was it's been the only time in her life that I saw her just devastated. And I'm up there trying to console her, and she just buried her head in her dad's chest. Like, she wouldn't look up. She was just so embarrassed that she fell in front of it. I mean, the whole elementary school was there.
A 7-year-old, so devastated.
And she was just so sad and disappointed that kind of like that I can't compete like my siblings do. I thought I was going to win. I was going to be fast like them. And she had always said that she was going to run around the track and everyone was going to cheer, "Go Haven, go Haven." And then she had said when she was about 3 or 4, she's like, "But I'll run on my knees because I'm a lot faster on my knees." And so I had kept showing her the running blades, and she was just like, "No, they're ugly." Like, she had to always have matching leg warmers that covered up the metal of her legs. And, she was all into her fashion and her hair. And I was like, "Well, they're really cool." And she's like, "No, they're ugly. They're ugly." And so
there's no shoes I can wear. There's no.
She's like, "How do you even wear shoes on those?" So after she fell, I began to just start searching the internet of like, okay, where can she meet other people like her? Where can I learn more? Up until that point, she was so social.
I'm still very social to this day.
I hadn't really worried about her having friends or anything because she had friends with legs, but it was crazy. The first event that we went to when we met CAF, and after my research, we ended up at the Endeavor Games in Oklahoma. And to see her the first time she met another person like her.
Yeah.
I mean, and then she was like, "Okay, maybe I do want some of those." And CAF couldn't get hers done by that first, and she almost had that peer pressure of like, well, everybody else has the cool legs. And so she hadn't wanted to participate. And so we ran into Travis that works for CAF, and he began to talk to her, and he knew how it all worked. So he was saying, "Haven, I really believe that you'll win a gold medal if you'll just run." Well, he knew she was probably the only double amputee below the knee in her age category. So she was going to win a gold medal, even if she just crawled, but that did it for her. She was like, "Really? I'll win a medal?" And, you can't doubt the power that medals have with kids, like medals and trophies and ribbons. But I mean, because I made her run at that track meet after she fell, and she didn't want to. And so her sister got out and ran with her, and they gave her, and she came in like last, and they gave her like a white ribbon. Well, she was way too smart to like, that's a white ribbon. Like, I'm not impressed.
That's a charity ribbon.
Yeah. Like
participation
ribbon. I am not happy with this ribbon. But when we went to the Endeavor Games and she won a gold medal, that really, I think, sealed the day for her that she was going to be an athlete. Like, I've got more medals to win.
Yeah.
And she still has all those medals in a suitcase that she keeps. And so it was just really cool because Travis made all the difference of him just, he's like, and so then we began to meet more people from your organization, and it got broader, and then you introduced her to swimmers, and it's just grown from there, and you really are family.
There's no question. And when I see you and Breezy and all the other kids together. It's really special. And you have a really special relationship with Jessica Long as well, right?
Yes, yes. We just saw her a couple weeks ago. It was fun spending that week with her, and she's doing great. Yeah, and she's living at the OTC, which is super cool. And I'm like, well, if you're at the OTC, why don't I just hop on that train? Like everybody's there. It's like summer camp. If you're going to that camp, I'm going there too.
Yes. And you just came back from Texas. You had a meet down there.
Yes.
Took 5 seconds off your PR in the fly, right?
Yes.
On the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I weren't happy with your breast or the IM, but that's okay.
No, yeah, that's okay. This is my first meet back in 15 months.
Yeah, and now on to Cincinnati, and then the Paralympic trials, which will be your second time going to the Paralympic trials. That's a pretty cool accomplishment. That's in Minnesota in June.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that trials in 2016, I was 13, 12 years old. Yeah. And I remember getting on the blocks for my race, and I think there was 4 people in that heat, and it was Jessica, and then a couple other people, and I get on the blocks and I'm grabbing the blocks, and I remember thinking to myself, well, if I don't touch third, I get to go to Disney, and if I touch second, I'm going to Rio. and I definitely thought, let's go to Disney.
What are your goals this year when you go to the trials? What do you think you have your best chance at in terms of getting to the Paralympics?
100 breasts, and I've made some adjustments in my training to see if that helps. But I'm not trying to be too hard on myself. Definitely, if I don't make the team, I yet again going to Disney that summer.
Yeah.
And I'm just really going to be optimistic about it. I'm going to work really hard, and I'll see what the outcome is. But I'm not putting too much pressure on myself for that last meet. Everybody was it was always a hit or miss with everybody with training. I mean, come on, like competing is a part of training, and we haven't trained in over a year. Right. While we're in this panorama.
And we always try to really balance everything out of just living your best life. And it's hard as a mom to watch when she doesn't succeed, because I also watch how hard she works. Mm-hmm. As a parent, I mean, you have those kids that really don't work very hard, and then they're shocked when they don't do well. And you're like, I mean, I'm the mom that was always like, well, you didn't prepare, you didn't work hard, you got what you put into it. I'm not the, oh, you're the best no matter what, but I've had some pretty hardworking athlete kids, but I've never seen anyone that is so disciplined and works hard as she does. And she's been doing it since she was 10. And never complains about going to practice, never complains. Hard for her. She missed her 5 a.m. practice this morning after the New York prom turnaround weekend. I never have to get her out. Like, that's maybe the second time in 3 years that she was driving that she hasn't gotten herself up and went to morning practice. And so we really try as a family.
Let me put some emphasis on this. I didn't sleep at all Saturday night and Sunday.
Was it prom? Did you have prom?
I had prom. Yeah. We bowled till 1 a.m. and then we made s'mores till 4. And I am a 8:30 in bed reading a book type of person. My diffuser's on. I have my fan going. I am lights out by 9 o'clock.
So it's hard, you just don't want your kids, you want them to think, well, if I work hard, then it's going to happen. But yet, and she was really disappointed in Texas, and I knew that she had done the work. So, I just talked to her a lot about, you have to know you're more than just an athlete. You have a message, you have a purpose, you have a destiny, you have a life beyond swimming. And if you don't make it, then there's a different plan, there's a different plan. And because it's just, I get nervous but just because I know how hard she's worked, and that makes me nervous that, oh my gosh, I don't want her to be disappointed, because I want all of her hard work to pay off. But ultimately it's not what it was 20 years ago. It's very competitive, and the times are really, and she'll be swimming against a lot of people that have legs and that use them differently, so it's tough, because her disability is cut and dry. It's like there's no legs there to use. So all of that, and so I just really want her to know that there's life, whether she makes the games or whether she doesn't make the games. Her life is important, she has purpose, and it'll go on from there.
So you are the epitome of a mom. I just love just the energy you bring to Haven, and you guys you're like a hand in glove. I love the relationship between the two of you. I love having both of you as part of our Challenged Athletes Foundation family.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for joining us on Heroes of Sport. Honored to have you both on.
Thank you.
Love you, Bob.
Love you both. Shelly and Haven Shepherd have been our guests. Again, a very special Mother's Day edition of CEF Heroes of Sport. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time.